I'm telling Snoop Dogg to show up and say what needs to be said. This isn't a joke, and it's not a performance for the media. This is real. If you keep choosing to disappear and act like nothing happened, then let me be very clear about one thing. I'm not protecting you anymore. This isn't someone else's beef, and it's not something another person can step in and explain away for you. This is between me and you. There's no need for a middleman, no brotherhood to soften it, and no vague statements to buy time. If you don't step up, I'll take that as your decision. I'm not talking out of emotion, and I'm not doing this for attention. I'm saying this because I already have everything prepared. The documentary about you is finished. This isn't internet gossip or street rumors. It's material collected over many years. Footage, records, and statements from people involved. Every piece of it can stand up to public scrutiny. I need to make this clear too. This isn't me suddenly turning on you. For a long time, I chose to hold back. I was the one keeping things from moving forward. I was the one covering for you, but I'm not doing that anymore.
Okay, so 50 Cent just dropped a bomb about why Snoop Dogg suddenly disappeared right after Diddy's explosive documentary hit Netflix. And what I found out? Way darker than anyone could have guessed. Multiple insiders are now whispering that Snoop might actually have more secrets than Diddy himself. Yeah, that's right! Stay locked in because what's coming next is straight up wild. You probably clicked this video because something about Snoop's sudden silence felt off, right? Well, your instincts were on point. 50 Cent's Diddy the Reckoning just became the #1 show on Netflix across the US and the UK. And get this, the second it dropped, Snoop Dogg vanished from the internet. No Instagram posts, no tweets, no live videos, nothing. That's super weird for someone who's usually posting nonstop. Here's what we're breaking down in this video. First, the real reason Snoop went ghost the moment Diddy's name started trending. Second, shocking claims from people who were actually around back then, saying Snoop might have been mixed up in the same mess as Diddy. Third, the hidden clues that have been sitting in plain sight for decades, but no one noticed. And finally, I'll show you the wild moment Kim Porter supposedly caught Diddy and Snoop together in something no one saw coming. You better watch till the end, because the last piece of evidence, it's going to flip everything upside down. Trust me, this one's unreal. But before we go deep, you need to get how tight Snoop and Diddy really were, because this wasn't just two rappers hanging out. This was a serious connection that might explain everything. When 50 Cent's documentary dropped, it instantly blew up, becoming the biggest thing on Netflix overnight. Everyone started buzzing about Diddy's alleged crimes, and the details were straight up shocking. The doc had victims sharing their stories, exposing the wild freak-off parties and pulling the curtain back on everything Diddy was supposedly hiding. It was heavy, real heavy. But here's where it gets strange. While the whole world was reacting, posting, and breaking down every scene, Snoop Dogg stayed dead silent. Not a single word. And for someone who's always quick to speak on anything happening in hip-hop, that kind of silence is just weird. Seriously weird. Now peep this. Snoop once went on TV and talked about how his sons and Diddy's sons have been best friends since they were just 6 years old. He explained how both families were super tight, how Kim Porter, Diddy's late ex, used to bring their kids together for play dates.
Just so you know, Puffy's sons and my sons have been best friends since they were 6, 7 years. I didn't make it happen and Puffy didn't make it happen. One night I was at my house and Puffy's son was over about like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, cuz, what time you going home? And he like, I'm spending the night. I'm like, did you tell your dad? He like, nah, my mom dropped me off. So Kim, rest in peace, was connecting my kids with Puff kids, and they formed a friendship and a bond. When Justin went to UCLA, my son went to UCLA. When Christian was rapping, my son was rapping. When he was modeling, they was flying over the world together. So they forged a friendship and a brotherhood that me and Puff always had. So if we got the opportunity to take these two brands and show people what it can be as opposed to what it used to be, that's what.
When Justin went to UCLA, Snoop's son went there too. When Christian started rapping, Snoop's son jumped in the booth as well. These families were linked from top to bottom. So here's what I'm asking. If someone that close to you suddenly gets hit with major accusations, and your first move is to vanish from the spotlight, what does that say? Wouldn't an innocent person at least say something? I'm not accusing anyone, but the pattern here just doesn't add up. You feel me? Now before we dig any deeper, you gotta understand what these new allegations are really about. We're talking about disturbing claims here, rumors of those so-called freak-off parties where messed up stuff allegedly went down. Some even claim Snoop was caught in awkward, compromising moments with Diddy, and there are whispers that he might have had ties to something even darker, trafficking situations. Yeah, it's heavy stuff. If you can't handle what's coming, maybe look away now. But if you're chasing the truth, let's dive in. All right, let's start with Snoop's strange behavior over the years. Because once you connect the dots, it's impossible to unsee. Remember that moment when Diddy was on TV and said,
"When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it."
"When I die, I want my last words to be, I did it." Go back and watch Snoop's reaction. He gives this tight, uncomfortable smile, almost like he knows exactly what Diddy's talking about. People are rewatching that clip now, seeing it in a whole new light. It feels like a secret exchange between two men who share something dark and unspoken. Creepy vibes all around. But trust me, it gets worse. Way worse. Suge Knight, who's now locked up for life, has been speaking out from prison, and since he's already doing time, he's got nothing to lose by telling it all. Recently, he dropped a wild claim about what really happened the night Tupac was shot in Las Vegas. According to Suge, Snoop was supposed to roll with them to the Mike Tyson fight that night.
Good, happy to have you back, my man.
Man, I ain't went nowhere. I'm closer than you think.
Yeah, man, I had to run it back. I mean, the people rock with you, so, it was only right, man. So I gotta ask you, because over the years, man, there's been a lot of confusion. When Tupac got shot in Vegas, was Snoop at the hospital?
So, Snoop didn't go nowhere near the hospital. So when it happened, as you know, for some strange reason, but now we know the real reason, Snoop did not attend the fight with us or the club, the after party at Club 662. And what's so crazy about that, we thought it was strange that he wasn't there. This is the first one he didn't attend. And according to Warren G and everybody else, now we know why he didn't. But to get straight to the point was this. I was at my house in Vegas, and I started calling Snoop, telling him, hey, what's up? Like, it's something wrong with this situation. Pac in the hospital, come holler at him, come check on him. So he drove down, and I was at the house waiting on him. And Tupac's mother was at my house.
Tickets were ready, plans set, everything lined up. But suddenly, at the very last minute, Snoop backed out. Didn't go to the fight, didn't hit the club afterward, nothing. And here's the thing. Snoop had never missed an event with them before. So the timing? Super suspicious. Then, just hours later, Tupac gets shot. He's lying in a hospital bed fighting for his life, and still, Snoop doesn't show up. Suge said he was sitting at his house in Vegas calling Snoop over and over like, hey man, what's going on? Pac's in the hospital, come see him. When Snoop finally did pull up, things got even stranger. Tupac's mom was already there, heartbroken and worried sick. And when Snoop walked in, instead of comforting her, he said something that froze the whole room. He told them, Tupac hates me right now. He's mad at me. Like, what? At that point, everyone could tell there was tension, and people have been wondering ever since what really went down between Snoop and Pac that night. Then, Snoop starts breaking down, crying uncontrollably and even throwing up, like literally throwing up right there. Now, tell me that doesn't sound strange. That's not just shock, that's guilt. That's the kind of reaction someone has when they're carrying something heavy inside. Like they know something bad went down and can't shake the weight of it. But hold up, because it gets way crazier from here. Warren G, who's basically family to Snoop, confirmed that Snoop was at his house the night Tupac got shot. And here's the weird part. Snoop had a walkie-talkie with him that night. But not just any walkie-talkie. Suge later said these were special radios that could connect all across the entire West Coast. The only people who had those back then were event security or industry insiders working big shows. So the question is, why did Snoop have one of those radios at Warren G's house, just sitting there watching the fight on TV? And even wilder, why could he allegedly hear everything happening live in Vegas, including the exact moment shots were fired? Multiple witnesses have even claimed they heard someone on the radio yell, "Got him!" right after Tupac was hit. I'm just saying, connect the dots and ask yourself, does any of this sound innocent? And it's not just Suge talking. Fans have gone back and started rewatching old interviews from the 90s. They're analyzing Snoop's body language whenever Tupac's name comes up. And the tension is undeniable. You can literally see it. How Snoop looks uneasy. How he drifts closer to Diddy's crew instead of sticking with Death Row during that whole East Coast versus West Coast era. Even back then, people were whispering that Snoop had flipped sides. Some were already saying, Snoop betrayed Tupac. But nobody wanted to believe it because Snoop always played it cool and laid back. But now, with all these details coming out, those old clips hit completely different. Looking back, all the red flags were right there. And now we're stepping into the part that's even more disturbing. So buckle up because it's about to get real wild. So now, a dude named Courtney Burgess has come forward. And what he's dropping might flip this whole story upside down. This isn't just some random internet rumor guy. Courtney's a music industry insider with over 35 years of experience, and he's claiming to have Kim Porter's real memoir. Not the fake one that got printed and denied by her kids, but the actual one, packed with solid proof photos and shocking evidence. And what Courtney says is written in that book? It's absolutely wild. According to him, Kim Porter wasn't just Diddy's ex. She was documenting everything. She had snapshots, secret notes, and detailed records of what was really happening behind closed doors. And because she knew how dangerous Diddy's power was, she kept it all hidden. But before her mysterious death in 2018, she allegedly handed that evidence over to someone she trusted with her life. Now, here's where it gets next level. Courtney claims that inside this memoir, there are photos showing Snoop and Diddy together in ways that definitely don't look like typical homie behavior. He describes one image where Snoop supposedly lets Diddy rub his hand.
Can you hold it up a little bit more? Let me see how that. Oh yeah, dang.
You know what I'm saying? We don't hold our man hand. We shake it and get it back in our pocket.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They got Diddy and Neo. And if you heard Neo's wife call him Little Diddy, that he like freak off, get high and get freak off. They all baby oil you up.
Oh man, what the hell is that?
You know what I'm saying?
Yo.
Eyes
Not him
wide.
and the son. That's his son, right?
Yeah.
Slowly, not like a quick greeting, but like something deeper. Courtney said straight up, these ain't just handshakes. These are long, intimate touches caught on camera. During his interview, they even showed a few redacted photos. The faces were blurred, but you could still see the vibe. And yeah, the body language looked off. Courtney didn't hold back either. He said, "We don't hold our man's hand. We shake it and keep it moving. But what's in these pictures? It's on a whole different level." And apparently, it wasn't just Snoop. Courtney mentioned there were also photos of Diddy with other famous male artists like Ne-Yo and Andre Harrell. Same type of suspicious closeness. All this, Kim supposedly documented and stashed away before she passed. Honestly, when I first heard about this, I thought it sounded like internet gossip. Just another wild story meant to stir up drama. But then reports surfaced that the federal investigation actually confirmed parts of what Courtney said. That's when it stopped being rumor territory and turned into something serious. Real serious. A lawyer named Ariel Mitchell just went on national TV and dropped one of the biggest bombshells yet. She represents multiple alleged victims tied to the Diddy case, and during her live interview, she revealed something that left everyone speechless. Ariel said someone reached out to her trying to sell a freak-off tape featuring Diddy and another celebrity. And here's the kicker. She said the other person in the video is even more famous than Diddy himself. Yeah, you heard that right. More famous than Diddy. Ariel confirmed she's seen stills from the footage, and she said the second person's face is clearly visible. The video was reportedly filmed at Diddy's Atlanta mansion, and here's the disturbing part. It looks like the other person didn't even know they were being recorded. She said, "It doesn't appear like they were aware of the taping. It looks completely secret." And to make it worse, she confirmed that the video is explicit in nature. Now legally, Ariel can't name who that second celebrity is, but multiple insider sources are all pointing toward one person, Snoop Dogg. And when you line up the details, the timing starts looking seriously shady. Remember, Kim Porter, the one who allegedly had proof and documentation of everything, suddenly died in 2018 at just 47 years old. The official report said pneumonia, but come on. She was healthy, active, and full of life. And if she really had evidence connecting Diddy and Snoop, her sudden passing feels way too suspicious. Something about that just doesn't sit right. Now here's where it gets even darker. People who were actually there are starting to speak out. These aren't random online rumors. These are first-hand accounts from people who lived it. Gene Deal, who used to be Diddy's personal bodyguard, has been spilling major details lately. This man saw everything up close. He straight up said, "Diddy is a demon, possessed by something dark." Gene described chilling scenes, exclusive parties where the room temperature, the music, even the lighting were all deliberately set up to create certain vibrations. He said there were spiritual rituals happening, and he even recalled seeing a priest-like figure rubbing some kind of oil or substance on Diddy's head during one of those strange ceremonies. It's wild, it's creepy, And it's making a lot of people wonder what was really going on behind the scenes at those freak-off events. Gene Deal said one of the strangest moments he ever witnessed happened during one of Diddy's private, ritual-style parties. According to him, Diddy had to grab a white dove from a cage and release it into the air. But the dove didn't fly. It just dropped straight to the floor like its wings were gone. Gene said he'd never seen anything like that in his entire life. It freaked everyone out. And here's where it gets wild. Multiple insiders are now saying Snoop Dogg was spotted at events just like that. Not just as some chill guest hanging around, but allegedly participating in the same strange, dark stuff. If that's true, it changes everything. But what comes next is even more disturbing. A woman named Ali Carter, who's been speaking up for years, is finally being listened to. She's a trafficking survivor who's been calling out both Diddy and Snoop Dogg since way back in 2020, but nobody believed her back then. People online dragged her, called her crazy, told her to stay quiet. But now, everything she said is starting to line up with what's being revealed today. Ali claimed that Snoop Dogg isn't just another player in this game. She said he's actually more powerful and more connected than Diddy when it comes to these hidden circles. According to her, Snoop was accused of trafficking back in December 2020, but everyone looked the other way. Instead of facing heat, he got praised, performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, dropping products, and staying in the spotlight like nothing ever happened. Ali made a strong point that hit hard. She said, "We canceled Dr. Seuss and Aunt Jemima, but we're fine with someone accused of trafficking? How does that make sense?" And honestly, she's not wrong. Why do we as a culture pick and choose who gets canceled depending on how famous or loved they are? It's a question that needs to be asked. And here's the thing, Ali didn't stop there. She also revealed some wild details about the mysterious connection between Snoop, Diddy, and Tupac, a link that might explain way more than anyone realized before. Things are starting to sound way deeper than just industry drama. It's giving full-on secret network energy. And people are finally beginning to pay attention. Ali Carter said something that shook a lot of people. She revealed that Snoop, Diddy, and Tupac were all close friends once, but hinted that Snoop and Diddy were secretly working together while betraying Tupac. She even compared Diddy to a Black Clinton, saying, "Nobody messes with Diddy for a reason." According to her, the power this man holds runs way deeper than music. She also pointed out how Kanye West once tried to call this stuff out. And not long after, he started acting strange, almost like he'd been threatened or forced to stay quiet. It's dark, real dark. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Okay, but where's the proof? And that's a valid question. But here's the twist. Federal investigators actually do have proof. They reportedly seized laptops, hard drives, and flash drives from Diddy's homes and offices. And according to several insiders, Snoop's name keeps popping up in those sealed files and witness statements. That means his involvement might run a lot deeper than people realize. Now let's talk about something that's been hiding in plain sight: Snoop's pattern of lying. Once you start spotting it, you can't unsee it. There's a clip floating around online that breaks down all the times Snoop has allegedly twisted the truth about his connection to Tupac. In one example, Snoop tells this dramatic story about bumping into Nas in New York during the East Coast-West Coast beef. He claims Tupac started confronting Nas, saying things got tense, even though Nas had a whole crew with him. It sounds wild, until you hear Nas himself speak on it. Nas released a response video saying flat out that Snoop wasn't even there. And that's not all. Other members of the Outlaws, Tupac's own crew, backed Nas up and said Snoop was nowhere near that situation. So why would Snoop make up such a detailed story about something he didn't witness? The video's narrator asks the perfect question. What made Snoop think he could lie about events when the people who were actually there could call him out? And honestly, the answer makes sense. Snoop needed to keep his street credibility alive. By inserting himself into Tupac's story, he stays connected to that legendary era of hip-hop drama. But now, with all these new revelations surfacing, it's starting to look like Snoop's been building his reputation on stories that don't quite match the truth. Snoop needs people to keep believing he was loyal to Tupac, that they were tight until the very end. Because if the truth ever came out that he betrayed Tupac and was secretly working with Diddy, his whole legacy would crumble. Think about it. How many times has Snoop brought up Tupac's name in interviews, acting emotional, reminiscing, or dropping quotes to make himself look like the faithful friend? Every tear, every story. It all seems like part of a bigger plan to protect his image. Now let's get into something wild that Suge Knight once mentioned. the so-called boiled egg test. According to Suge, it's this twisted initiation ritual that supposedly happens inside the music industry. I'm not going to spell out the details because they're disturbing, but the idea is that new artists have to prove they'll do anything to climb to the top. And guess who Suge said passed that test? Snoop Dogg. According to multiple insiders, that's the moment Snoop's career exploded. Like overnight. Suddenly, he went from a rising name to one of the biggest stars in hip-hop with every door in the industry wide open for him. And here's where it gets even stranger. Snoop has this weird obsession with boiled eggs. He jokes about them online, posts about them on Instagram, even adds them into his branding like it's some inside thing. Some people believe this is his subtle way of signaling to certain folks in the industry, kind of like saying, yeah, I passed the test. Sounds wild, right? But when you line it all up with everything else, his timing, his posts, his sudden success, it starts looking less like coincidence and more like code. Now here's where the pattern becomes crystal clear. Snoop's been covering his tracks for years. Just as the Diddy allegations started heating up and the internet began connecting dots, suddenly Snoop gets a shiny new public role. U.S. honorary coach for the Winter Olympics. That's some perfectly timed positive PR, don't you think? Then came the flood of wholesome appearances. T-Mobile commercials, The Voice, NFL coverage, family-friendly ads everywhere. He went from gangsta legend to fun uncle of hip-hop almost overnight. And it worked. People stopped asking questions, started laughing along, and the media focused on how cool and lovable he was again. That's not random, it's strategy. A distraction carefully built to protect the brand while keeping eyes off the darker stuff swirling around his name. That whole family-friendly Snoop wave, it looks like it was all about building up good PR before everything hit the fan. The timing couldn't be more perfect or suspicious. Now let's talk about Gene Deal, another former Diddy bodyguard who's been spilling a lot of tea lately. Gene recently did an interview explaining why he wasn't featured in 50 Cent's documentary, and what he said will make you look at that whole project differently. According to him, the director tried to lowball him on payment. But that's not the only reason he stayed out of it. Gene claimed the documentary left out a ton of key details, the kind of info that would have made the story way more explosive. And guess what? Gene said Snoop Dogg's name came up more than once when they were talking about who was really involved behind the scenes. He specifically brought up the City College incident, the 1991 Diddy event where 9 people tragically lost their lives. Gene said what really happened that night is way deeper than what was shown on Netflix. He implied that Snoop knew certain things about that event but kept silent to protect himself and others. Gene also confirmed that federal investigators have been quietly collecting evidence for years. He said there are sealed testimonies naming specific high-profile celebrities and that more indictments could be coming soon. And think about this for a second. Gene Deal used to work for Diddy, while Suge Knight absolutely can't stand Diddy. These two men are sworn enemies, right? Yet both of them are saying similar things about Snoop Dogg. When two people who can't even be in the same room without tension agree on something about a third person, you've got to pay attention. Now, here's where things get even creepier. Industry insiders supposedly use code language to talk about this kind of stuff without saying it outright. You'll hear phrases like sitting in the director's chair or being on the director's lap. Behind closed doors, those phrases are rumored to describe compromising situations that certain artists allegedly went through to reach higher levels of fame. Multiple people in the know have said Snoop's rise in the industry followed right after moments like that. They say he went from being just another rapper to suddenly landing every major deal imaginable. Music, business, endorsements, everything. And even more suspicious, he started getting protection from the biggest names in the industry, the kind of safety net regular artists never get. You don't get that level of power and protection for no reason. It always comes with a price. You don't become untouchable in this industry unless you're part of something way bigger. And that's exactly what insiders are saying. According to multiple sources, Snoop Dogg isn't just protected. He's allegedly part of the system itself. He's not some innocent artist who got taken advantage of and moved on. He's said to be a key player in the same machine that's been exploiting others for years. So let's pull all these pieces together and look at the full picture. Why did Snoop Dogg really disappear the second 50 Cent's documentary hit Netflix? Here's what's confirmed so far. Federal investigators seized hard drives, flash drives, and video evidence straight from Diddy's properties. A lawyer on national TV confirmed that tapes exist featuring Diddy and other high-profile celebrities. And several independent sources have all pointed toward one name showing up on those tapes: Snoop Dogg. Then there's Kim Porter. Before her mysterious death in 2018, she was allegedly keeping detailed records of Diddy's activities, and that included documentation of his strange connection with Snoop. Insiders who were actually around during those years are finally starting to talk, and the stories are matching up in ways that are impossible to ignore. And what's been Snoop's reaction through all this chaos? Complete silence. No statements, no denials, no lawsuits, nothing. Be real with yourself. If someone accused you of being tied to trafficking or secret freak-off parties with Diddy, wouldn't you immediately clear your name? Wouldn't you post proof, go live, or sue for defamation? But Snoop hasn't done a single thing. He's vanished from the spotlight, and that silence, it's louder than any denial could ever be. Think about who Snoop usually is. He's always online, cracking jokes, chiming in on every hip-hop controversy, dropping opinions about other artists left and right. But the moment his closest friend gets exposed for horrific crimes, suddenly he's got nothing to say. That's not loyalty, that's damage control, that's survival mode. And here's the scariest part. This might just be the start. Multiple insiders have said this is only the beginning. They claim that federal investigators are building a much larger case involving multiple celebrities who were connected to Diddy's inner circle. And guess what name keeps surfacing again and again in those sealed testimonies? Snoop's. Even 50 Cent seems to know more than he's letting on. That's why he made the reckoning, to warn people without saying too much directly. Look back at his cryptic posts over the years about Diddy. They weren't random shade, they were hints. Now, it's all starting to make sense. So when Snoop suddenly goes dark, deletes posts, and hides from the spotlight right as this documentary takes over Netflix, that's not coincidence, it's strategy. He knows 50's got the receipts and the walls are closing in. Look, I know this is a lot to take in. Believe me, putting all this together was intense. But this is exactly why these conversations need to happen. We can't keep protecting celebrities just because we like their songs or grew up watching them on TV. If even a fraction of these allegations turn out to be true, and there's plenty of evidence hinting that they might, then Snoop Dogg hasn't just been fooling the industry, he's been fooling us. For years, he's presented himself as Tupac's loyal friend, the cool uncle of hip-hop, the harmless, fun-loving entertainer. But behind that image, he might have been hiding something way darker. Imagine pretending to be this peace-loving icon while allegedly being connected to serious crimes. It's chilling. So now I've got to ask you, what do you think? Do you believe Snoop's hiding something big? Do you think his name's gonna end up in those future indictments once everything comes to light? And if it does, how do we as fans react after supporting him for so long? Be real with it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I truly want to hear what you think. And if you made it this far, seriously, thank you for watching. I know this topic is heavy, but these are the stories that need to be told. Victims deserve to be heard, and the truth deserves to come out. No matter how powerful the people involved might be, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications, because this story is not over. New info is dropping every single day. More witnesses, more evidence, and the federal investigation is still unfolding as we speak. This could end up being the biggest scandal in hip-hop history, and we're literally watching it unfold right in front of us. Stay alert, stay safe, and stay tuned, because what's coming next might shock everyone. Hints. Now, it's all starting to make sense. So when Snoop suddenly goes dark, deletes posts, and hides from the spotlight right as this documentary takes over Netflix, that's not coincidence, it's strategy. He knows 50's got the receipts and the walls are closing in. Look, I know this is a lot to take in. Believe me, putting all this together was intense. But this is exactly why these conversations need to happen. We can't keep protecting celebrities just because we like their songs or grew up watching them on TV. If even a fraction of these allegations turn out to be true, and there's plenty of evidence hinting that they might, then Snoop Dogg hasn't just been fooling the industry, he's been fooling us. For years, he's presented himself as Tupac's loyal friend, the cool uncle of hip-hop, the harmless, fun-loving entertainer. But behind that image, he might have been hiding something way darker. Imagine pretending to be this peace-loving icon while allegedly being connected to serious crimes. It's chilling. So now I've got to ask you, what do you think? Do you believe Snoop's hiding something big? Do you think his name's gonna end up in those future indictments once everything comes to light? And if it does, how do we as fans react after supporting him for so long? Be real with it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I truly want to hear what you think. And if you made it this far, seriously, thank you for watching. I know this topic is heavy, but these are the stories that need to be told. Victims deserve to be heard, and the truth deserves to come out. No matter how powerful the people involved might be, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications, because this story is not over. New info is dropping every single day. More witnesses, more evidence, and the federal investigation is still unfolding as we speak. This could end up being the biggest scandal in hip-hop history, and we're literally watching it unfold right in front of us. Stay alert, stay safe, and stay tuned, because what's coming next might shock everyone.